John, why don't you have a go? If you could describe Christmas in 5 words, what would you go with?
Acceptable opportunity for morning beers.
First section we're going to talk about is, have Christmas traditions died or just evolved?
What's the best present you've received and what's the worst?
The only other one that sprang to mind was micro machines.
Oh, great.
Excellent.
That's so good.
I got a goat once.
That is that's a terrible present until you get to your sort of mid-40s and you're like, oh, pickling.
If you could preserve only one Christmas song for future generations, which one survives? Extra large and extra hard. Put this cookie right in your face. Swipe your nose like a credit card.
Good evening on Thursday, the 11th of December. To all our Australian listeners, of which there is only one, and he's in the UK. Happy summer. But for everyone else, it's Christmas. And you can tell with our incredible Christmas outfits that we've all gone to great, apart from Simon, who's dressed like a sort of slightly odd golfer.
All my Christmas stuff is in the UK.
Well, then we'll look forward to it for when you get here to seeing you in it. But this is the Christmas special. So we've all gone to great lengths. John has dressed as Santa, I believe.
Yes, that's correct. I'm wearing my son's outfit from his Santa run that he did at the weekend, raising precisely £0 for children in need.
Excellent. And Pompey, is that a hat that you bought from a convenience shop at the last minute?
It is indeed, yeah. A Sainsbury's special.
Yeah. So we've got Paul Casey as well from San Francisco.
It's quite a Christmassy golf look, though, isn't it?
Thank you very much.
The colours are right.
At a pinch.
It's Christmas.
The other option was the fishing jumper that I bought for Mikey's stag do a million years ago, which would also be not particularly relevant, but sort of jumpery in a Christmas way.
No, so I've gone with.
Mate.
I've gone with.
Oh, good. Good.
He is the reason for the season. I've had this in a cupboard for a long time, waiting for another moment. And every year, Lindsay says, when are you going to get rid of that jumper? And I always go, I might need it for something. And brilliantly, I've been vindicated again. So
he is the reason for the season in modern takes, but it's an ancient pagan festival from pre-Christian times. Did you know that?
No. Paganism wouldn't have quite the same snap at the top line, though, would it?
No.
Maybe that's next year. Paganism is the reason for the season.
It's a progression of the Winter Solstice Festival.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Maybe it says that on the back.
Yeah.
Thanks, John.
It's actually got a little
Wikipedia article in short font.
In short font.
Oh, look over there.
It's written on the back.
Sorry, Pompey, what was that?
I said, is it written on the back?
Sadly, there's nothing there. It's a very plain jumper. They invested all of the time and effort on the front. So it's Christmas. So I'm hoping everyone got excited and went out and got special Christmas drinks.
Yes.
I got
the excitement.
A Christmas beer of Moretti because we won it at a Christmas fair on the Tombola. So it's a very Christmassy beer. Daniel won it for me, which I was very, very proud of him for doing so. But no, I actually went into, my local supermarket to try and find a Christmassy drink. I assumed there would be some kind of section for that, but there was not. So I just thought I'll just drink what I've got at home.
The only real Christmassy drink I can think of is sherry, isn't it? Or maybe mulled wine.
Eggnog.
Some glühwein.
Eggnog.
Yeah.
I mean, not having it. I'll have a beer, please.
What did you go for, John?
It's another Westbrook's Peraltada.
Woo! Don't Have Be Dead.
Don't Be Dead. Very Christmassy. Captain Pompey.
I've gone for something not really Christmassy, but wintry.
Ooh.
Got a Jubal, born in the Alps, so snowy. It's a little bit more of the season. Yeah.
I mean, nothing says Christmas like peaches.
I also disagree enormously with putting peaches in beer, by the way. Same with grapefruit and all the other rubbish you see.
Every other flavour.
Every other
Just
bloody
so drinkable.
flavour. Yeah.
No interest. Simon, I don't know what time it is there, but I know it's a long time earlier in the day, 7 hours, like 8 hours.
It's nearly noon on a not even the end of the week work day. Based on the last one, where I was about 5 minutes away from completing a head cold and then had a load of mezcal and had another week of head cold, I was minded not to drink, but I'm now going to decide to do a new section that needs a name, but I'm going to call Simon tries to drink his way through all the weird old spirits he's inherited from friends and mostly old family members, and you can decide which one Simon drinks. How about that?
What on earth is he going to go for?
So while we wait for him to bring back his spirits, we also said we would have some sort of one sentence introductions to Christmas. So Christmas in 5 words. Okay. So John, why don't you have a go? If you could describe Christmas in 5 words, what would you go with?
Acceptable opportunity for morning beers.
Solid.
It's true. It's my favorite part of the day. In front of a family, in front of the kids, crack on. Get slowly toasted on a sofa.
Opportunity for what beers?
Morning beers.
Oh.
More beers in the AM, not, being sad when someone dies beers.
Wake beers, not wake beers.
Not that kind of morning,
Yeah.
All right. We'll return to the 5 words because Simon, you appear to have some choices for us.
I do. I've got 2 de Kuiper options. Creme de menthe.
Ooh, it's Christmassy green.
If you could mix that with something red, then you got it.
I mean, this goes into a grasshopper cocktail, so maybe I should be keeping these for weird cocktails, but this looks like it is about 6,000 years old and probably wasn't expensive when purchased. And then creme de cacao.
Ooh.
I mean, neither are
Maybe
good
I should drink
options.
neither of these and just go for something else.
I would like you to drink the creme de menthe.
Creme de menthe. Okay.
Fantastic. Pompey, your Christmas in 5 words.
Shall I carry on?
Please.
My Christmas in 5 words I would say, want to love it, struggle.
I'm with you on that, Bombs. This will become clear.
As a concept of, it will come clear a little bit later on, but I think it sort of says it. I think we've got a section talking about that a little bit later, haven't we?
We do. We got some.
But yeah, Christmas as a whole, I like it in principle, but struggle.
Fair. I wrote 2. So the first one I wrote was my favorite time of year.
Ooh, a positive one.
A positive one. But then I thought about it a bit more, and I actually thought, whenever I think of Christmas, I think of The Spy Who Loved Me. We used to watch that film every Christmas. I don't know why. One of those things that became a weird tradition. So that was the first thing I actually thought when I thought, I can't put that, but it does neatly. It's only 5 words long. So The Spy Who Loved Me.
That perfectly hits the spot. I love it.
And Simon, your Christmas in 5 words?
Cozy family festive food delight.
Another positive one. All right, we've got the whole spectrum here.
Okay. Well, with that, and with Simon bringing in with ice as well. Nice choice. We'll go into our first.
Carry on.
Carry on. I don't know. Are we going to wait for the first sip?
Yeah, we should. Not terrible.
I imagine you're drinking toothpaste right now.
Yeah, it's definitely got a sort of toothpaste, mouthwash at the dentist-y vibe, which isn't terrible. It's mint. Doable. Maybe if it had a little candy cane to stir it around. Do that next year.
There's always next year.
Just as a thought, Simon, you could put a bit of your creme de cacao in there and you'd have mint chocolate.
What does the team think?
You should do that immediately.
It can't make it any worse, I would argue.
You do that, and we'll push on with
with the podcast. Yeah.
So I will argue strongly that it probably will get worse, but whatever. Carry on.
So we're going to talk. First section we're going to talk about is, have Christmas traditions died or just evolved? So are we the last generation who did things like Christmas, going outdoors, sledges, building snow ramps, making dens, versus today where Christmas is always on screens? So what does Christmas mean now? Is there boredom? Is there magic? Is there freedom v schedules? Is there screens? Is there stress? So it'd be really good to hear from people about what do they think about Christmas and those traditions and how they've changed over time. So why don't we go to the captain of our plane, Mr. Pompidou?
Um, so I think it's an evolution.
Simon, the
Sorry,
stirring of the ice was quite
I'm
loud.
not going to have like one layer of cacao. And one... Come on. You guys asked for this. You just got to be prepared to take the consequences. Get it in post, huh?
It's becoming the answer to every question. Let's get it in post. Pompidou,
so
off you go, sir.
yeah, I think it's an evolution similar to a topic we discussed in podcast 1 about changing times. I think it's just an evolution of the more connected times we live in. People, Christmas is still there. Some people still love it, but a lot of people are connected on modern technology, their screens, phones, or whatever. So they're connected on that, but disconnected from other people. It doesn't mean Christmas is still there and the values. I've actually written down here, I think, a cultural thing I've written as a note. Certainly, like I know over in Germany, it's very similar to what it was growing up. There's a lot of family values there, a lot of family time, going outside, sledging, going for walks, etc. So I think it comes down to culture, parenting, not letting the offspring spend all their time on screens, but trying to promote those family values.
Very sensible, mate. Very sensible. Would you say it's particularly different in Germany compared to, obviously, you spent time in both countries now?
It's tricky because growing up, which is part of what my 5 words were. I mean, I come from a tiny family. Just me and my own mum and dad are on their own as well. So I've never done the big Christmas, and that sort of stereotypical everybody together, big household and everything else. So it's, I like the concept of Christmas, and I think those are values that I see reflected a bit more, over there, in everyday life as well. But that transitions over to Christmas as well. There's just a lot more family time, going outside, doing offline stuff as a family, to what we're used to when we were growing up.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. Simon, why don't you talk us through your views?
I wonder how much this question is so much a function of where we are in our lives at the time and the individual differences of different people, that it's difficult for any one of us to get a sense of changing trends. Like we've had different background to Pompey, not so much, not explicitly necessarily because of the German difference, but if he's from a small family and you've come from a huge family, that's going to be a big difference without necessarily being a difference in the national culture. Thing that occurred to me was that's probably the bigger factor for us in this question is when we were younger, Christmas was about us, and more than just Christmas, life in general. Your parents provide for you. They subsidize your fun and your free time and your boredom and your enjoyment by taking a lot of the chores and whatever off your plate. They're doing the dishwashing, the clothes prep, the driving around, the whatever. You get to just have fun, which is great. And they, shagged you into the existence. So sort of fair dues a little bit. But equally, once you get older, the tables turn. You're doing the driving, the cooking, the buying, the planning, the everything to subsidize their fun. So conceptually, they're still having comparable fun than you were, maybe in a more screensy way. But even that, I think, is a function of parenting choices, right? We're having this conversation in this group sort of regularly about the extent to which screens and are you ever bored and whatever. I remember at university, at bachelor's, Southampton, there was a lad in my course who was like, we grew up, we had TVs, but we were almost never allowed to watch TV, which at the time was like, it's kind of a maverick parenting move and a bit Luddite-y or whatever. But you can see that there's a case to be made. He seemed to be a fine and normally adjusted human being. Arguably, you could do the same thing for our kids nowadays. You could be like, no phones, no nothing. That, I mean, set against the backdrop of how the world has become, that would seem even more bonkers, I think, than this one lad who didn't have a TV. But I don't know. I just wondered the extent to which that feeds into this question. You know, how much of it is societal generalities as things have changed in culture in the UK, let's just say the UK for the sake of argument, versus across family differences in screen time, and of just the fact that we're now the adults and it's changed for us. Has it changed for the kids in the same amount? I don't know.
I think you're right about that. You're completely right. Because when I was thinking about the answer to this question, it was obvious to me. You know, we used to be the ones leaving wrapping paper all over the floor, didn't we? Now we're the ones picking it up and putting it in a bin bag.
That's
immediately
so nice.
Comes off
Immediately.
We used to eat Christmas lunch, and now we're buying it, chopping the veg, putting it in the oven, getting it out, trying to get everything served up at the same time. And it's a nightmare. It's very, very stressful. But there's still magic there, isn't there? You know, even if it's all stressful now. I mean, part of my stupid 5-word response earlier on was that actually it is an incredibly stressful day and you kind of need something to take the edge off a little bit. You know, you can't equate it. So if the question's has Christmas tradition died? I wouldn't think it has, but definitely I feel personally like it's died, but it's still there for the kids. You know, they still see the magic in it. They're still looking forward to it for a couple of months, you know, talking about what they might want, you know, how many Robux people will buy them rather than actually what they want to open on the day. So, you know, if you talk about being outdoors, sledging, building snow ramps, that didn't really happen, did it? I mean, even in my childhood, I was inside playing with whatever I opened that day. I think one of the differences, though, is with gifts. We used to open physical things, didn't we? And now it's like vouchers or something on a screen or a game to play on a screen or something like that, which is fine.
Yeah.
You know, the kids still get sort of equally excited about it, even though, you know, I feel like I've spent a month's wages on it, whatever we've bought them, and then the kids are sort of, you know, off they go to do that. And you don't see that excitement. I think they are still excited about it, but you know, we don't see it. All we see is perhaps a slight disappointment, a second tier thing we've also bought them, or, you know, we see all the stocking fillers just being left on the bed. They've been opened, discarded, and they're on to the next thing. And that's sort of sad. And it's one of the reasons I actually don't love Christmas at the moment, is because, you know, I don't get the response from my kids that I feel like I had. But thinking practically about it, I think they do have that thought process about Christmas. They just don't show it as well. What do you reckon, Pompey?
I think you're absolutely right. Something I wanted to pick up on something you said there about the vouchers. And I think in a way, I don't know if you agree, Christmas seems to have become a bit more efficient. You said there about you get the present, you rip open the present, you move on to next thing. A lot of stuff got discarded, or maybe there were the knickknacks and crappy bits and pieces, whereas nowadays shopping as a whole is so much more accessible, so easy. Go online, go on Amazon, or other shops are available, but you get a voucher and you go and buy what you want. So maybe there is a little bit of the magic that's been taken out of it, because you can go and get what you want, which is fine because that's what you want. But I mean, there were a lot of bad presents growing up. You open something and you put on a brave face and you smile and you say, yeah, great, thanks a lot. But every now and again there was a gem, and you open it and there was genuine excitement as to what you'd been bought as a present. And I haven't seen that for a while at Christmas.
Yeah, actually, it reminds me of something. I know one person who's quite close to me, not in this group, who would, on their way away from their parents' house, would take the stocking and all of it would go in the bin. Which is so disrespectful, isn't it?
Wow.
Sort of true, because stockings are just full of junk. You know, it's perhaps it's just sort of, you know, to be cynical about it, capitalist rubbish. You know, you don't need all the little gimmicks and stuff. You do need chocolate oranges, but you don't need tiny little plastic toys that fill up the ocean.
Right. And so to that point, Hunter, you said, sorry, you said about the magic going. And I wonder if you feel that's a binary thing. It was magic when I was a kid, is now zero magic now, or if it's just the balance has drifted as we've gone from being the recipients of the magic to the providers of the magic. Is there no magic left? And I wonder, for me, I still feel like there's some magic to Christmas. Obviously not actually, but like for me, there's some joy of the ceremony and the family and whatever. And part of that function or that balance, I find, is the extent to which, and Pompey, you said about efficiency of present buying, which I'm going to come on to. I think now we're in charge, the extent to which you can focus on the efficiency of running the event and not get bogged down in a million side dishes. Can you tighten up the Christmas menu so you're just doing less work and therefore having more time for fun rather than just being a chore machine? And the same thing with buying presents, like we talked about. It seems that consensus is there's still wow and wonder from the kids at the main present, even if it's something that's not boxed up. We'll get to this next question, but not a boxed up thing or whatever, subscription or whatever. There's still a wow for that because it's the big cool thing that they wanted. It sounds like there's always been a pretty steep decline. Sorry, wrong way. It's a pretty steep decline in the value and the wow factor of the supplemental presents. And I sort of even wondered when I was a kid, to what extent do my parents need to be buying me a bunch of stuff? They bought me one big thing that I'm psyched about, and here's the stocking fillers. It's like it's even got filler in the name. If we did away with that, much in the same way that we could probably do away with maybe 3 items from the Christmas dinner and not really notice it's gone, right? Tighten up the sort of Gordon Ramsay tighten your menu concept. Just do fewer things well. Get rid of all the stocking fillers. Get rid of the other bits and pieces. Just do an efficient Christmas packet. And that means just you've got more time for yourself to enjoy yourself rather than just servicing the event for everyone else and being like, God, I'm glad that's over. Drinking alone in the shed and crying.
It would definitely make you a happier parent, wouldn't it? But maybe it's all about the kids. Sam, what do you reckon?
Oh, you brought some interesting things up. So particularly the vouchers thing, Pompey. We're banned from buying vouchers in my family. Always have been. So it's just not a done thing. So, and it's always been that way, which I've only come to realize now is actually quite unusual. We are quite unusual that we do that. And it's always been, my mum's really straightforward about it. She said, I want you to go away and think about people that you're buying stuff for and put effort in and time in. And that's not what a voucher is. However, obviously now when you get married, you go into a different family. And I've also come to appreciate the clinical efficiency of getting a voucher for something that means I can buy actually what I want instead of getting some shit I didn't want. Right. And that would be unfair, which suggests that I've got lots of shit that I didn't want over time, which is not true. Almost, very broadly, I've had brilliant Christmases all my life. Right. But there has been a few times recently where I've gone, yeah, actually, 50 quid Amazon voucher is really quite useful for me right at this point in time because there are a number of things and I'm not maybe sure what I want at this point. I can't come up with an idea because I don't want anything, but actually that would be really useful. So I wouldn't say I've come to a midpoint. I'm still very, very strongly on the voucher side in particular. I think I feel good about that. But I also can now see the other side of going, if you've got a lot of people to buy for, and actually that's what they want and they genuinely want that, then is that a bad thing? I've become less convinced that that's an issue over time. So, Pompey,
there is an in-between.
You got excited there about vouchers.
Not the vouchers. I just, as you were talking, there's an in-between, isn't there? In modern time, I don't seem to remember when I was growing up, but the gift receipt. Around Christmas time, you go and buy something. Would you like a gift receipt with that? Which I've never really understood because you slip it in with the present and somebody gets the present. You say thank you very much. Inwardly, you're thinking this is horrible. I'm going to take that straight back. Oh, great. There's a gift receipt, which is so designed so you don't see what said person has spent on your item. You take your item into the shop with your gift receipt, you get a voucher for the value of what has been spent on that item.
Right. It's such a good point. But you only see that if you take it back. I reckon 99% of
That's
people
true.
don't take it back.
That's very true.
Yeah,
And
it's a
just
good out.
one other quick comment to Simon's point about the stocking, the stockings and the stocking filler. And I agree that the plastic Chinese waste, etc. Yeah, but they also serve, well, certainly growing up, served a big purpose for my parents and other parents. You put chocolate in there, you put a Terry's chocolate orange in there. You've occupied the kids for a bit. They're there eating their chocolate, and you can have an extra half an hour in bed and not be woken at 5:30.
Yes, I will say there's a sort of a bit of a nuance there in terms of like chocolate orange, totally fair play, because it's a digestible consumable versus plastic digger or something, or mediocre book that they don't know if you're going to like, but whatever, that kind of thing. God, I don't know why I raised my hand. Sam, you've got something. Go on, mate.
Well, I think the central sort of premise. I think one thing that was in there was talking about snow and sledges. I mean, I don't think I've ever had a white Christmas. I don't know if anyone else has. I certainly haven't. I can only recall 2 or 3 times in my entire life it snowed in London. So, and I can pretty vividly remember them. But there are some. I think the core Christmas, though, we've talked about evolution as a child, and I think brilliantly, in a lot of ways, it hasn't changed that much. I think there's still. I think you talked about it, John. That sort of brilliance of sort of playing with presents, maybe while the adults get on with things. And that wonderful, maybe you might get like a couple of hours maybe to play with something on the day while things are going on. And then there's a brilliant lunch, and then you might do some stuff maybe as a family. And obviously it's not the same for everyone. Not everyone gets that experience, right? But I think for a lot of people, there's still those kind of core tenets, and they might do different things around them. I think also I really enjoyed the kind of post-Christmas period where you didn't really have that much to do. And it's certainly in my family, we didn't necessarily go and see lots of people. And then you would have time to play with things and play with your presents. I still remember, it might sound terrible, one of the best Christmases I ever had was I got Half-Life on PC. And, I remember it took like a day to install it. So I didn't play with it on Christmas Day. I didn't really play with it on Boxing Day, I don't think either. And then I think everyone left on the 27th. I don't think I did anything else that day. I remember being remarkably reticent. I don't think I did anything until the 29th. All I did was play it until I completed it. And I look back and I remember chatting to my mum about this, and she just said, "You just looked like you were having the best time ever." And I was like, "I was." And she was like, "Yeah, we just kind of left you alone to get on with it." And Tom was doing something, Henry was doing something different. Obviously, I came out to like eat and do different things, but I'd been so excited about that one thing. And they said it was really interesting because they said, how many games or how many things occupy someone for 3 days, and they genuinely look like they're loving it. And I think that could be all kinds of different presents now. I think that sort of final thing about that evolution, and you guys, you alluded to it, John, that sort of change you go into adulthood. I think that change I found, I've been very lucky. I come from a large family, so does my wife. It's just that Christmas thing has been extended further, and now I get we're going up north for Christmas this year, and we're kind of getting 2 different Christmases because we're going to Lindsay's dad and we're going to Lindsay's mum. And I love other people's Christmases now. I just find that really interesting, all the different sort of traditions that people have. So for me, that it's been such a positive evolution of just experiencing all kinds of different Christmas traditions. And the only thing I wanted to show this very quickly. The one thing I think you'd mentioned, John, was, is there a Christmas memory that would make zero sense to kind of kids now? And it was this. I don't know if you remember this kind of netted chocolate bar thing. My granddad used to bring me those. I don't know. Can you still buy those? I don't. The one I remember, I don't know, but I remember having a green. It was green. It was like a green stocking. So
they're not a stocking like that anymore, are they? They're like Pompey's holding right now. They're boxes of, and they're bloody brilliant for godchildren and all that sort of extended family purchase. Send them one of those. It's the best thing they've probably got that whole day.
Exactly that. I think it's a sign of the changing times, isn't it? This paper that's got plastic netting in it, a little plastic sheet on the inside, vacuum formed around the chocolate bars. I think it's pretty much the same chocolate bars, but shrinkflation will definitely have played a part in it as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what the kids get nowadays.
Love it.
You've also got larger
paper, a cardboard box with some chocolates in it.
Nice.
Is that why it's perspective? I think the chocolate bars are smaller.
Simon, did you have a final word on this?
I had one bit about the voucher thing, the present voucher concept before we move on to the best present, because you sort of moving into that already. But one thing that's worked out great for me, like vouchers as adults, right? Set against the backdrop that, as Pompey was saying, that now we can just go and buy anything online anywhere all the time. When you need something, you're going to wait. Oh, it's February. I need something. Well, I'll wait until this December to ask someone for it, because it's a good present-sized request, and I'll just go without for 8 months. Entirely as a function of the fact that I live in California and my friends and my family is all in the UK. It doesn't make sense for them to send birthday and Christmas presents out to me. I'm coming home for Christmas anyway, so they can just give them to me. But I want them in California, so inevitably my folks will just say to my wife, what does he want? She'll say he wants this. Meg will buy it for me, and that's fine. But then the stage after that, or up from that we've worked out, is I can just, anytime I want something, especially if it's vaguely around Christmas, go, sweet, that'll be a Christmas present from whoever, get it for myself, use it immediately. As soon as I get it, take some photos of me opening it and be like, oh, this is great. Send those photos months later to say, yeah, he wants this, we'll buy it for him. Just front load it by months, be using it for ages, and then, oh, thanks, you just got me this for Christmas. I've just opened it. It's just what I wanted. I'm really grateful for it. Cheers. In the meantime, I've been a chainsaw or whatever. I've been using it all summer. Thanks very much. Nobody's the wiser. Obviously, once this gets on YouTube, if my parents ever watch it, which they won't, this is all AI. This is all fake. So don't worry about this. This didn't really happen. Carry on.
What a neat segue into John introducing the next section.
That was great, Dennis. Thanks very much. All right. Well, we're just going to go into what was the greatest Christmas gadget ever. And I put some examples here, like Game Boys. I think Scalextric was pretty cool. Mini disc players were big when we were slightly older kids. Walkmans and CD players and things like that. Compared to now, obviously, what are you buying? As we've talked about, vouchers, Fortnite skins, nothing really to unwrap. And if they do unwrap them, they haven't got anything to build, like a radio controlled car or anything to go play with on long term. It's just going to go straight on their screens and devices, right? Whatever. So what was the greatest Christmas gadget? And we can expand this to what's the best present. Doesn't need to be a gadget. What's the best present you've received and what's the worst? What have you got, Pompey?
Do you know, I sat here diligently doing my prep today, and having it through, and when I saw this question, I had to think back, and I don't know if I just had a bit of a sad childhood or what it was, but I mean, the things you've listed there, certainly Game Boy, Scalextrics, but the only other one that sprang to mind was Micro Machines.
Oh, great.
Excellent.
It was so good.
And especially, do you remember there was like a large lorry that folded out, opened up, and you had lots of little compartments and you keep it in. And I think, if I remember correctly, there was a runway on there as well. So you had the aeroplane Micro Machines as well. And yeah, that's all those other things, absolutely brilliant and great. And I had a lot of them, but that's the one that sort of jumped at me in my memory. And I love playing with that. And you had the little folding, like the square, those folding cities, so you could carry them with
Yes.
Similar to that. Yeah.
What Sam picked up here, something you can that folds out. Sam is showing
Something
us
that folds out. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
a house that seems to fold out somehow.
It folded up, if you remember.
Yeah. That's it.
It was
They're just like that.
In a carry
There's a
case.
city, yeah, and they all
Folded
click
up.
together as well. You had 10 centimeters square plates, which you could then fold up, put your Micro Machine inside and carry it with you. But then you got a number of those and you could actually interlink them and build a city.
By today's standards, that's quite shit, isn't it? But actually, at the
Yes,
time,
absolutely,
it was
absolutely.
amazing.
Yeah.
Now you've got
there were no
machines that can
lights.
talk to you.
Yeah. There was no lights, no flashing, no sound. It was pure imagination.
Amazing.
I'm with you, Pompey. I loved micro so much that I bought basically all of them off eBay for the kids. We've got just down here, I'm sat in the boys' room, or Jake's room specifically. And we got loads of micro machines and they loved them. They genuinely thought they were the best toys for a long time. And now, like, obviously, they're a bit older. I've got to get rid of them. I've got to put them back on eBay. But I'm quite excited about that because somebody else is going to pick those up.
that's cool.
I'd be really, really excited about them. Except I'm not going to sell all the good cars because I've got some great ones. So I've got a small micro machines collection now for myself.
For me, gadget would be Mega Drive. I don't know if anyone wants to put this on screen for the sake of it. Under the auspices of the gadget thing, that I feel like the likes of micro machines, etc., forms part of a continuum of something that, as soon as you become aware of the world as a child, you're aware that there are toys, from hoop on a stick down the road. I don't know why this is in my memory. I've never ever done this in my life. I just find the concept hilarious. Anyway, but from the beginning of time, functionally, there's child's toys, and so whatever is available in your childhood, it is a continuum of this concept. New stuff comes out when you're young, and this is the new toy. But notwithstanding, there was the NES and stuff slightly before this. But for us, this was the first video games console we got, and it represented a complete sea change in toys and games and whatever. And speaking to Sam's point about Half-Life, for example, it went from being, these are little things that you can play with generally on the floor, to here is this immersive world that hasn't existed before. This is the first, one of the first generations of this thing that exists. Obviously, you guys know what video games are. But yeah, for me, that was that. In terms of a gadget, that was absolute game changer. And I remember sitting around. What a terrible memory! But I remember us all sitting around playing Sonic the Hedgehog 1 on the family TV for hours and hours and hours. And it was just brilliant. And that's opened up the world of video gaming to me for the rest of my life, in a way that toys have understandably fallen away. As Sam's saying, micro machines, good for a short period of ages for the kids, and then off onto eBay and whatever. And most stuff doesn't scale, whereas video games, it just continues to expand in this different branch. So yeah, for me, the Mega Drive was the big thing as a gadget.
So you can see why the kids love their online gaming now, right? Because it is Mega Drive times 100.
It's just unreally good, isn't it? And that, and bringing it back to stocking fillers, you can even more see, like, oh yeah, we got you Half-Life 3. See you in about 6 weeks to 8 years. See you, off you go into Skyrim or World of Warcraft, never to be seen again. Oh, you didn't play with your little plastic digger? Well, yeah, of course.
You didn't play with that thing that you pull and it flies for a second.
Hey, your mother spent 13 seconds finding that on a shelf as she walked out of the store.
You haven't touched your fidget cube. All right, let me tell you about mine, shall I? Sam, can you put mine up?
I surely can.
The one of my earliest Christmas present memories was this. Does anyone recognize it? The Commodore Amiga.
Epic.
Oh my God. I got the Lemmings special edition where the Amiga came in a box with Lemmings preloaded, and the box had Lemmings all over it. And I remember this because in the middle of the night, probably 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, I'd woken up, I'd gone downstairs under the tree, I'd picked out what I thought was an Amiga shaped box, and I'd taken it to the toilet and I'd started to peel the corner just to check that it was what I really wanted. That what me and my mate Peter Somerville, when I was 8 years old or whatever, had discussed, to the point where we'd had a conversation on paper, a sort of written conversation, with him trying to convince me to get an Amiga, not a PC. And I even showed that piece of paper to my parents. It's like, look, this is proof that I should get an Amiga because Peter Somerville thinks I should get an Amiga. Anyway, it was bloody great. And, I managed to claim that I was going to be the guy learning computers. And, this would be my future in IT because I had an Amiga. And I just used it to play Lemmings, which was amazing. So that was my earliest memory. And then but probably my most impactful one on the day was a set of suspension forks for my bike, which I remember really well. I remember where I was when I opened them because they were really expensive, probably 2.5 times what my parents would normally spend. And this year, it was the only thing I wanted, and my parents were good enough to buy this, which was really nice of them. And at the time, I used to build bikes. It's probably about 15. I built my own bike a couple of times in a row. And I remember my aluminium frame Merlin Cycles mountain bike, which started off with hard forks and finished with these RockShox Quadra 21Rs. I was so proud of their 10 millimeters of travel or whatever it was. So that was my most impactful one on the day. But the question was, what's the best Christmas present ever received versus the worst and most disappointing? And I think it's probably the same toy was my best and worst. And I'll tell you why. So if you go to the next one, Sam, this formed probably 5 years of my childhood. I was really into radio controlled cars when I was a kid. And that is pretty dorky thing to admit. And I was caught up in that world for probably 5 years,
Cool shit.
no girlfriends, only friends with the dorky kids. And that was cool for me because I really enjoyed it. Loved building it. You'd get it and you'd build it, and it would probably take you a couple of days to build it. And then I'd play with it every minute I had. So it was definitely the best one because it lasted so long. That took me into loads of other different radio controlled cars, which I built over time, whether it was nitro ones or battery ones. But this was my first proper one. And it was disappointing because it wasn't a lunchbox, which I really wanted. Fundamentally the same thing, same speed, like same turning ability, but the lunchbox did a wheelie. So that's on the next slide. You can see the Mud Blast is pretty cool, but the lunchbox is very cool, isn't it? Fundamentally the same thing.
Cool.
So I was so happy about it, and I was so disappointed at the same time, which I feel bad about now because my parents probably really stretched to buy that for me. And I loved it, and it formed a massive part of my childhood to the point now where I want to get my kids one of these, but I'm not sure they're at all interested in it. But I might get one anyway, so I can have it.
That's fun for you. Objectively, Mud Blaster seems cooler than Vanessa's lunchbox. Notwithstanding the lack of
it wasn't
wheeling.
at the time. I know what you mean, but it just wasn't. There was something great about the way the lunchbox moved.
I think it's like that Renault F1 van, isn't it? It was just cool, right? The lunchbox
Something great.
shouldn't have moved the way it did, and that made it ultimately more appealing. So
yeah, totally agree. It's like the Ford super van, isn't it? Ridiculous machine these days. It's that for kids. Yeah. Dedders, what's up?
Best present versus best gadget. Mine was going to be best present was bike as well. Like just the first time you get a bike as a kid, it's just such an iconic thing. You know what it is in the wrapping, if it's even wrapped at all. I just feel like it forms this outsized monolith of staggering surprise and delight when you're a kid. And for everything it represents, right, in terms of freedom, growing up, trying learning new skills, everything, I feel like it's tough to compete with the bike, even though subsequent gifts might be actually better, like as a proportion of awesomeness in your life at that point. The bike is this staggering thing.
Well, also a bike is something that would push the window of price, isn't it? So whereas you might have got like a 50 quid present, actually, if your parents think you're buying a bike, well, now it's a £500 present, isn't it? But it's still given at the same time. It's a bit like a laptop now, right? I wouldn't spend more than 100 quid or 200 quid on my kids' Christmas presents in total. But if they're having a laptop, well, it's for school and they need to be studious. So therefore, 1,500 quid laptop. There we go. It's fine.
Good point.
Pompey, what do you reckon?
Yeah, sorry, I had mute on just now, but what I was just back to what you said before, the lunchbox, Vanessa's lunchbox. I think there's something in the form. There's something in the form of it from the 80s, the resemblance to the 18 van.
Yeah, fair.
Yes,
which obviously was an iconic thing of the time, or still is today. So my best present ever, I think I was about 9 or 10, was the mountain bike. but I'd also have written next to it price, because exactly what you said. It sort of signifies that step up in what your parents are spending. We definitely I see nowadays. I mean, bikes are ridiculously expensive. I don't know if it was the same sort of proportionally back then. So yeah, that was that's the best one I ever got, and it signifies, I don't know that age as well, but the mountain bike, a little bit more freedom. Again, going back to what we've talked about in the past, but in the 80s, 90s, you were outside a lot more. You weren't inside so much, and you got your bike. You could go off and do stuff, and if you had forks on the front, you could,
really do stuff.
So at the other end of the scale, yes, you could, and that's why it was so important to me to get those forks. But at the other end of the scale, you got worse Christmas present. I've just remembered a really bad Christmas present I was given once, and it was from Ali's gran, who was the sweetest lady in the world. But she once gave me a book called 1001 Uses for Vinegar. Given without a shred of irony, and I still got it
How
on the
old
shelf.
were you at the time?
Oh, I was with Ali, so the last 20 years, I guess, sometime after 25 years old.
Just
What a
because
thing.
that is objectively, that's a terrible present until you get to your sort of mid 40s and you're like, oh, pickling.
Yeah.
I would like, until about 5 years ago, I'd be like straight in the bin, and now I'll be like,
Well, look, it is possible that she went home that evening and went, fucking brilliant, got him. but it wasn't obvious on the day. Sam, what have you got?
Just the vinegar thing. Only so in my family we have. I'd argue there's two long-running jokes. One, you cannot buy my father anything because he can just buy anything he wants at any point at any time. To the point where one of the best presents he ever received was a box that said, "To the man that has everything," and inside it were a pair of cufflinks that just said, "I have everything." So that was all they had on them, which was just always brilliant. My cousin gave him those, and he's like, "That's bought me another year of thinking of something for him." But the other thing that comes up is I have a reputation for having very dull Christmas present lists because I'm quite practical. And my dad in particular, every year gets really, really annoyed with me. This year, my dad sent around a list with no irony whatsoever, which only had two things on it. One of which was a bottle of vinegar, which just triggered me. You talking about your 1,000 uses for vinegar, a bottle of vinegar. And the other thing was a spoon. That's it. Those are the only two things. And so this has caused sort of incredible levels of debate in our family WhatsApp group of how it's definitely the worst list that anyone has ever sent around in the history of our family's present buying. But he doesn't want anything. He never does. He never has done. So actually, the idea that he, one, sent a list, and two, it had things that were possible for normal human beings to afford and buy has been brilliant. So yeah, he won't listen to this before Christmas. I bought him the spoon. So
can you give us some context on the vinegar and the spoon? Is it just like standard Sainsbury's white vinegar and any spoon, or has he got specific like magical versions of each of these things?
These are quite magical items, I would argue. So yeah, they are. This is not a normal spoon, and it's not a normal bottle of vinegar. But it's not interesting, is it? It's certainly not. It's certainly not interesting.
I'm actually personally interested in both of these things. We can have this conversation offline, but send me those. Send me that list. I'm interested to know what the top tier vinegar and spoon is. There's a whole world of people in Chefland who are like, there's a specific balance to a spoon. If you get the right one, you'll be happy about it for the rest of your life, which is obviously preposterously sad and also a little bit like, kind of interesting.
Sort of like it's come from Japan. It's perfectly balanced, made with sort of samurai steel. It's not that kind of spoon. But I suppose moving on to to answer your question more fully, John, the greatest Christmas gadget ever. I had a long think about this, and this is what I came up with. I don't know how many people remember this. Who remembers Starcom?
Starcom, yeah, mate, brilliant. Magnets.
I mean, that's it, isn't it? Magnets. It really was just magnets that connected things together. I had a quick look at some of the names of some of these things. Who remembers? I think it's called Shadow Bat in the background, the stealth bomber, where you could attach with those magnets the little stealth bombers. I don't know if you remembered that, but Tom got that for one Christmas, and I got this, the sort of goodie version. Definitely not
I had that.
Quite as cool, but it had so many things it did, and it genuinely came with like loads of accessories. And I remember playing with that for a good year. It was such a good toy, and it was one of those things that you could add on different bits to it. It had brilliant other attachments. It had other things you could buy. Everything connected up brilliantly, and it was one of those gifts that kind of kept on giving for like a couple of years, I think. But every birthday and Christmas, like we got a new Starcom thing, and we, Tom and I both did it, and we loved that. It was just such
They were cool.
It was just really cool. But
I don't think I've ever seen it.
No, I've never seen it either.
Yeah.
You guys might be the only two people that know it.
don't know about this. And there was a TV program about it called Starcom. It'll probably be on YouTube. Probably be on YouTube now.
I got nothing.
And two things I want to talk about. Maybe that change. We talk about that evolution into things that kids can get now, though. I just want to show something that the boys have got recently, only because I just think it's fascinating. Jake asked for this for his birthday, which has just been
Gatling Nerf.
Look at that.
It's a Gatling Nerf gun. Okay. How much
Does
do you
it
think
takes 25 D-size batteries, doesn't it?
It does take a lot of batteries, a significant amount of batteries, right? But how much do you think that this is? How much do you think this cost?
£180.
Okay.
150
249.
This was £35.
Really?
Wow.
Yes.
Is it tiny?
They're
Is it
mini
an official
dolls, aren't
Nerf one, or is it a...
Oh, he's going to go and get it. He's going to go and
they?
get
Get
it.
it all these answers
It's
up front.
enormous.
Good size. I mean, plastic is cheap, right?
Plastic's cheap.
Right, but
Still.
branding isn't.
Who's got
But
verb here?
I think that's one of the things that has become quite interesting about kids' present buying. Some of the sort of, I know lots of things are expensive now, but actually some things have really come down in price in comparison. Because you're right, when he put that on his list, the first thing I thought when I clicked on the link was, not a prayer, lad. I'm not spending 100 quid on a plus on a Nerf gun. But actually, it was reasonably priced. It's actually quite well made. And it's brilliant. It really fires Nerf bullets really quickly to the point of like hilarity. So if you've got that,
Is it genuine Nerf?
no, it's X-Shot. It's called the X-Shot Insanity Motorized Rage Fire,
Yeah.
which I thought was an excellent name. And it just made me think that actually, from a present evolution point of view, things definitely are better. Like Lego's better than it was when we were. Board games are better. 3D printers are, there's things that obviously didn't exist. They've got more choice of things they could actually ask for. They've got better computer games, better console games. You sort of lose that, Simon. They've also, but then they can get to all the old stuff because people are bringing out all the things that we used to play with as well. So they've got just this amazing choice. And it did lead me on to thinking about the worst presents. And I texted Lindsay about this. I said, I'm trying to think of what is the worst present. And she immediately was like, it's that. And I was like, you're right. I got a goat once. A goat?
An actual goat.
Actual.
I was given an adoption certificate for a goat.
Oh, that is some bullshit, isn't it? Oh my God. What
Yeah.
was that about?
I've
That
had
was a
one of
craze
those.
10 years ago or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. But weirdly, at the time, I was like, oh, okay. I kind of get it. It's cool. Charity's good. All fine. I took a lot, even though technically that maybe wasn't the best present I've ever had, I took a lot of satisfaction from that goat certificate, living pride of place in our kitchen for a long time. Because I would always walk past it and I would genuinely think, I wonder how my goat is. Like, should I go and visit my goat? Like, maybe this is something we should go and do as the kids. And one day we did. We went to visit the goat. So it had not died. It was there. And I got real joy from that goat, even though on the surface, maybe it wasn't the most exciting present. Actually, it became one of those things that became a bit of a family, not really a family joke, but it became a real thing about, like, should we go and see Daddy's goat? And we did visit it and we had a lovely time. So actually, sometimes those presents that you think aren't great, maybe actually in the long term, pay off. Pomps?
But was it sorry to cut in, was it an entire goat you were given? Or was it a part, was it fractional ownership? Or a
Full,
time share?
I acquired a full goat. So
Full goat.
a full goat.
That's gone.
Yeah. And I think I fed it for a year as well. So
Pompey.
Well, I was just going to say, but yeah, when you said that, I've been gifted something similar. I can't remember what it was because I remember opening it, and as John said, I looked at it and thought, this is bullshit. I think it was for a donkey, but it was purely symbolic. It was, you've helped adopt a donkey or whatever animal it was, and there's a donation in buying that card to said donkey sanctuary or whatever. So I never actually got to visit it, but it sounds like your goat, being able to go and visit your present made it a little bit more interactive, a bit more fun.
I mean, I don't think anyone ever thought I would go visit the goat, but I was very made up with the idea of going to visit it. So eventually I was like, we're going. I'm committed.
How many other people do you think were gifted the same goat? This is some kind of goat-based Ponzi scheme, isn't it?
I mean, Lindsay may also have been gifted the same goat. So she was quite skeptical about whether it really was my goat. But it was.
Did you have to go in the goat's Google Cal and schedule a visit around all the other?
Yeah. I'm still
not.
not.
The idea you just turn up at random and they're panicking at the gate. Someone's here to look at the goat. Go and try and find one.
Yeah.
Go and get a goat. We'll stall him.
It did feel a little bit like maybe it wasn't my goat, so I was a bit sad about that. But
did he recognise you when you turned up?
Yeah, I mean, he knew all the backstory and everything.
Nice.
That's a sheep. That's a sheep, but we'll take it.
What noises do goats make?
I don't know. That's all I
had. The same noises, surely.
Sure, we'll allow it. In terms of worst gifts I've ever received, I was in a Secret Santa with my then work, and just before we got to the restaurant in the high street, I saw one of the lads from work duck into a charity shop. He was then 5 minutes late to the thing. I was the first person of the office to, randomly have the name drawn to get their Secret Santa gift, and it turns out it was from this guy. Not supposed to know that, but it became obvious. And I opened it up in front of everyone. Everyone's obviously sort of excited. Here we go. Here's the Secret Santa round. People are buzzed because they got cool shit for someone else. And it was a woman's brooch bought from a charity shop 5 minutes ago from that guy to me, clearly a straight man. And it wasn't that he put no effort in, because no effort would have been like, here's a packet of crisps. And I would have been like, I like crisps. I'm delighted by this. Here's a can of beer. Fine. It was just, but not only was it incredibly lazy, weird, and just a terrible gift, but I had to open it and react to it, like original reaction video. I had to react to it in front of the whole office and be like, oh, cool. It's a woman's brooch.
What have you done with it now? What have you done with it now?
I think I just gave it to one of the women in the office.
I mean, do you know what? With that, it would have looked lovely on that jumper, mate.
Burn. Right, has everybody answered? Shall we move on to
I have an answer, but the only one that really springs to mind for me with bad gifts was just the annual self-knitted socks from Granny, the wool socks, which were just awful. And in the same, you had to smile, you had to say thank you, you had to put them straight on. Very often they were way too small, so you sort of stretching these things over the socks you've already got on, and immediately, when Granny goes home, you take them off, and they never get worn again. Or if they were okay, first time they got washed, they shrunk to about half the size. So yeah, it's very nice, thoughtful of her, but worst gift for me.
Along those lines, do any of us either still receive or give handmade, personalized gifts?
No. Who's got time to do that?
The only person that does, Lindsay's mum, is a very competent knitter, and she will still, particularly if there's a young baby or things like that, she'll knit them something, and it always goes down brilliantly, absolutely brilliantly every single time. So I'd say all of my family are definitely, obviously we've got a number of nieces and nephews, they have all received a knitted good from Shirley, and they've all been used to death because they're brilliantly made. So, but she's probably one of the few people that still does that, I think. Actually, not true. One of my sister-in-laws still paints, so you might get a nice picture from her at Christmas, which I love. So,
That's cool.
and same with one of my cousins. She does that as well. So yeah, I love it when people do that. I think it's brilliant. I think I'm made up when someone's invested time and effort. But it's
Nice.
you're right. It's rarer though, isn't it? It's definitely
Yeah.
rarer.
This has got me thinking, because I make hot sauce and jams, and recently getting into pickles and stuff, hence the surprising vinegar interest, which I sort of give to my local mates basically when I've made a batch. That I've got loads of these. Here you go. And it occurs to me around this kind of time of year, which is when it all sort of comes off the line, the fruits in season, blah, blah, blah. Maybe I should just hold on to everything for a month and change and be like, here's a Christmas present version. I would have given this to you for no reason a month ago, but now it's Christmas. So
Yeah, and like John's stocking
maybe
friend,
I'll do that in future years.
Yeah, like John's stocking friend, they can just throw it straight in the bin as well. So
Nobody would. Heartless.
nobody would.
Right, let's move on to the car
move
section,
on.
Sam.
Always. So Christmas time is coming, and that often means long drives, important drives. So what would be the ultimate car for a family Christmas road trip? The car you would most want to drive home for Christmas? And let's go
Home or there or both?
But you've probably there and back, I would say. Not just not just home.
Just there.
Just to make sure,
Fair clarity, the return trip. So let's start with Mr. Hunt.
Right. Let me take you back 10 years or so. I was heading to my brother's house in Guildford from Kintbury near Hungerford, where we used to live. And we were going in our generic family SUV. And we were just around Bracknell on this phenomenal A road and passed a lay-by. By the way, we were traveling on Christmas Day to my brother's house for a family Christmas thing. And I passed a fleet of caterhams, probably 20 caterhams, sat in a lay-by with a bunch of dudes a bit like us wearing Christmas hats. They had probably the best Christmas day of their life that day. There was nobody on the roads. It wasn't a white Christmas because it never is. The roads were dry. These guys had just agreed that because there was no traffic, they were going to capitalize on that idea, and they were just going to take their caterhams out and wazz around for a bit. And that's
very cool.
Is an ideal hour away, or maybe 2 hours away from the chaos and disappointment of Christmas on the actual day. That is what I'd do. That if I could drive anything on Christmas Day or even on a Christmas trip, and the rest of the family in the family SUV, and I'd go in this caterham. One of the kids could come with me. The other one could be strapped to the roll bar.
Particular flavour of caterham?
Well, the most powerful you could possibly make it, right? Apple 20R or something like that. Yeah, you would.
Yeah. Whatever is uncontrollable.
Yeah.
I think
that's what I would go with. It's not a Christmas road trip car, really, but I just thought it was such a glorious way of spending a couple of hours on Christmas Day when everybody else is sort of, half toasted watching the Queen's speech. Nobody's having a great time. You're swimming in wrapping paper. Your kids are disappointed. You've burnt the turkey, so to speak. And what a lovely piece of joy those guys were having. I thought it was wonderful.
It's kind of giving yourself your own present a little bit as well, isn't it? Right? Like
there you go.
After the kids have got the Mega Drive or whatever, and they're sitting down playing Sonic, and everyone else is doing their thing. You like you say, in that bit of a lull zone. Notwithstanding, if you're full of food and you haven't had your morning beers, you might still be so tired from eating that you're terribly dangerous behind the wheel of a very tetchy car. Nonetheless, yeah, I like that as a concept.
Yeah, it was good. It just made me feel pretty cool about Christmas, actually, that these guys were using this no traffic day for the best time of their lives. Pompey, tell me, car.
So I went down a similar thought process to yourself. Now, I mean, because answering Sam's question of family road trip immediately, made me think of SUV and everybody together. And I think for that, the first ones I wrote down, if price is no object or something like that, something like an X7 or a Q7 or an SQ7 if you're so inclined not to drive BMWs and you prefer an Audi. Something that fits everybody in, that you've got plenty of space in, plenty of comfort. If the kids are in their back screaming, they can swing the cat around and it doesn't bother you in the front. But something I just thought of as Sam was talking about in-car entertainment as well. I mean, if you're going down that ridiculous road, something like a Cadillac Escalade, which is going to have all the toys, all the screens, all the everything in it, which will keep everybody entertained with all the space. But on the other hand, if we're going for fun, I actually I've gone with balancing fun with power and go for something, a comfortable estate like a 550, an M550, something like that. So I think if you go up to an M5 or an M3 or an RS6 or something like that, it's going to be too hard. I mean, it's lovely, don't get me wrong, it's great, but for a long road trip, you want something powerful but comfortable.
And 550 wasn't available here in the UK in a estate format.
Oh, was it not? No. Well,
You can have it in Germany.
yeah, I actually drove behind one the other day. That's why it sprang to mind. I thought, oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that or a 7 Series feels like a really nice balance, doesn't it? For me, I'd be taking your concept to its next point, Pompey, and comfy minibus. I saw an article a number of years ago where it was saying that celebrities looking to be anonymous now travel in specially decked out black windowed minibuses that just look like panel vans. This is probably a bit bigger than you'd be thinking, but from the purview of like bring the whole family with you, chug along, you're the captain up front, everyone's got all the screens and everything, bit smaller than this, but still like plush and comfortable, screens up the wazoo.
Are you driving this, Dedders, or have you managed to find yourself a driver?
I'm driving this. I just did an RV trip with my mate, and obviously the size of thing we had wouldn't work in the UK because it was functionally a steakhouse with 4 wheels on it. But in the UK, that you wouldn't need as big of a thing anyway, right? You're not going a long enough distance that you need to sleep in it. You're only going 2 to 4 hours to 5-6 hours max, right? But yeah, chugging along on the motorway in an 8-seater, something like that, minivan with plush seats and everything, I think that would be lovely. You're plodding along, not in any kind of rush. You're comfy. If everyone in the back is happily in their own spot and comfy and they're not fussed, then you can sit up front with the missus and have a nice chat or whatever. I think that'd be quite nice.
Yeah, good call. Sam, what have you got? What do you think?
Well, I'm experiencing this dilemma right now because we are doing a long road trip. We are going to multiple places in the north. We'll be away for nearly 2 weeks. And of course, I just assumed we'd take the big Volvo. The big Volvo is not available. I've only found this out today. I naturally assumed, being the person going the furthest away, I would be using it. No, it's been shotgunned. And I think now, I saw your note, what's the worst car you've ever attempted a long Christmas journey in? It's about to be this Christmas in our own car. The worst car I've ever probably, thank God I technically don't own it, the Peugeot 3008 plug-in hybrid. Everything about this car is poorly suited to Christmas. It has a tiny fuel tank. It is slow to charge. It is fast, but it's not fast enough to be interesting. It doesn't handle. It's got terrible tires. It's an average size, so it's not really big enough for 4 people and their luggage. It's certainly not big enough for 4 people and their luggage and a dog. It's certainly not big enough to include presents into that or other items you would need because we're going to the north for the winter where it will be cold and wet and we will need multiple changes of clothing. It requires a roof box, which makes loads of noise. Which you're then stuck with when you get there, so you can't park anywhere. It's got terrible interior lighting, so it's dark inside. CarPlay rarely works. The tire pressures haven't worked, as we have discussed at length with our friend Beaker, who we're not to name. Despite what he thinks ChatGPT says, the tire pressures don't work. So I'm actually dreading Christmas, and I spent quite a bit of time thinking, about what would be the ultimate option. And what I came up with is, because the answer is obviously a Range Rover. But if you're going to have a Range Rover, you might as well have a proper Range Rover. So you want to go up a level. This is the Overfinch Holland and Holland edition. Imagine a Range Rover that somebody's just gone crazy with. absolutely crazy with on every level. But the thing I love about it is particularly the interior. I won't show any pictures of it. We can pop some up later in the edit. But I just loved the idea of going up and doing a Christmas shoot in it. Okay, the boys have learned to shoot recently. Only clays. We do like animals. But this idea of going up somewhere with a couple of shotguns, loading everything in, the dog would definitely fit. It looks comfy as anything to drive. Everything is optimized around having a luxurious time in poor weather conditions. And I just thought, wouldn't that be lovely? And of course, the real discussion we're having now is, could we take the Jag instead? So,
Yes, you can.
Of course you can take the Jag. Why wouldn't you be able to take
Well,
the Jag?
Of course you could take it, but will you get there and back? That's why I was shaking my head.
and you would be correct for me. It would, however, I would argue, add an element of jeopardy to Christmas, which could be fun. It could
Will
add,
we get back?
will we get there? Will we get back? Will it start? Will something catastrophically break on it? Like, I think that would be more interesting than taking the boring car, personally.
Yes.
Lindsay-
Interesting isn't necessarily fun.
Doesn't
No.
see it that way.
No, Lindsay disagrees. Jonathan?
So if you reckon probably your own car perhaps is your worst car for a Christmas trip because of the jeopardy. Well, maybe it's the best, maybe it's the worst. I just remembered a trip I did around about Christmas time, which was snowy. I had taken my car for a service. My car at the time was a Lotus Exige V6 Series 3, and it was a wonderful thing. It had way more talent than I did, though. And on my way home in the snow, the dealer in Hoffman's in Henley did say, "You sure you want to take it today?" And I was desperate to get it back, so I know I've taken the half day off work. I'm going to come and get it. And I drove it back, snow plowing with a splitter that was 7 centimeters off the ground, to snow plowing that sort of rut of snow you get in the middle of a country road, to the point where eventually, of course, the splitter gave up and it just gave way, and it ended up hanging off by a couple of rivets on the front bumper underneath my car. So there I am, feeling like quite a fool in the snow, driving this idiotic car, having to physically rip the splitter off my car to get it back in the passenger seat, where it was obviously broken in 2 or 3 pieces. I'm feeling a little bit silly. But I did have fun on the way home, and actually looked all right without the splitter, but I eventually got it fixed. That is not a sensible snow car.
Possibly worse than the Caterham.
Well, at least the Caterham's got a bit more ride height.
Very sensible. Very sensible. So,
Poms, you had your hand up earlier, but
Yeah,
I don't
you
think
did.
you got to say your thing.
It was purely to the last segment where Sam was talking about referencing the Peugeot 3008. I have recently driven a couple of different Peugeot variants. I'm not sure what the numbers were. All I remember is that they're just absolutely awful to drive, awful instrument cluster, awful steering wheel position, awful central cluster infotainment and buttons. It just, I mean, awful.
just terrible. Absolutely
It-
terrible. And brilliantly, you've just reminded me of a load of things I didn't even say. If I'd had more time, I would have got to those. The irony being, particularly, that the car we had previously to that, the 5008 diesel, would have been great for Christmas. And actually, there was nothing wrong with that car. And we got rid of it because we thought we should have something smaller. And it was a disaster. The 5008 has none of these issues. It is much better in basically every single possible way. So I'm not saying Peugeots are terrible, but the Peugeot we have is terrible. But yeah, well,
Sam,
hey,
you're very much a car guy.
Hmm.
Therefore, it occurs to me, I'm kind of surprised that you ended up with this, because as a car guy, I would have thought you would have researched this up the wazoo. Or was it just a case that the 588 was decent? You're like, sure, the 3 will be basically the same, but a bit smaller.
company car policy. So you do what you can within the constraints that you're given. So the only thing I will say about the 3008 hybrid, it has one amusing facet, which is it's much faster than people think it is, which means that in certain scenarios, that's quite fun because people don't realize how quick it is. However, it does mean you end up at some interesting angles in it because the tires aren't very good. It's running on some very skinny, very budget kind of tires, which means sometimes when you go around a corner, particularly if you've got your children in the car and you're trying to, what's the phrase that Chris Harris always used? Make progress. I've had some quite interesting skids in it with everyone in the car. So, and I've got in a little bit of trouble. And it's often I'm not even doing anything particularly silly, but sometimes it's got quite a kick to it. Sometimes people were really shocked at how quick it is. And so particularly if you're somebody's not paying attention, being overtaken, people don't like being overtaken by it either. That's one thing I have learned. Nobody wants to be overtaken by that car. It's like there's something about it that it generates genuine like road rage in other road users being overtaken by it. So I've actually, poot along in the left-hand lane very sensibly now because there's nothing else for it. That's where it should live, and it will live until it goes. Pompey, you got the last word on this section before we move on.
It raised the thought in my head talking about how awful Peugeots are just in general. The question you've asked about the worst car I've attempted a Christmas journey in, and I don't think it's just a Christmas journey. It falls into the same category as, well, certainly the modern ones, as Peugeots for me, and that is an Opel or a Vauxhall Astra. Back in the day, same as a Nova, I guess its predecessor. Yeah, it was a cool thing, and there wasn't much to it. Maybe like the original Mini, you chuck them around, and it was the thing. It was just the cool thing that boy racers had. But the modern Opel Astra, I attempted or did a 3-hour journey in one of those on motorway, mountain pass, with some icy, snowy conditions. And yeah, to phrase it in the same way as the Peugeot, awful. Just a terrible, terrible car inside and out.
Not one for this Christmas then.
Not one for any Christmas.
Well,
and I wouldn't wish it on anyone either.
Well, luckily, we're not going to wish that on anyone's Christmas. But what we are going to wish people on is John's Conspiracy Corner.
A Christmas conspiracy.
Ooh. Can we have a jingle for this in future rounds?
Yes, we should do that.
Let's move straight into our favourite section, John's Conspiracy Theory Corner.
All right, chaps, gather round the Christmas fireplace and listen to my story. Today's conspiracy is about Christmas, children's toys, and a corporate stitch-up so sneaky it makes the Grinch look like an amateur. So picture this. Ooh. It's the early 2000s, Christmas shopping season. Parents are sprinting around trying to buy the It toys, which unusually for me, well, I was surprised about this, it was Monopoly, Action Man, My Little Pony, and Mr. Potato Head. And something strange starts happening. Wherever you go, Argos, Littlewoods, certain other catalogue shops, the prices are identical, down to the penny. No sales, no variations, no competition. Now, normally, this would just be chalked up as how things are. But behind the scenes, a few people in the toy industry start asking questions. Because these weren't the kind of products that usually stay at one fixed price, and parents were complaining a lot about prices suddenly jumping in the run-up to Christmas. Whispers begin that major retailers are secretly meeting with one of the world's biggest toy manufacturers, agreeing to keep prices artificially high, especially during Christmas rush. So everyone involved can enjoy a nice fat margin while mums and dads out there are panic buying. Now, this isn't just favourable supply agreements or Christmas strategy chats. These guys shared price lists, coordinated increases, had non-compete agreements, and even had staff being told not to lower prices even if competitors did. According to the internal documents leaked later, the companies involved were trying to control the market on some of the absolute hottest Christmas toys of the year, the ones the kids were begging for, the ones you couldn't avoid. So if you wanted to be a good parent and there was no escape, you had to play the inflated price. It was emotional blackmail via Action Man. Eventually, regulators caught wind. Quiet investigations began. They started pulling emails, price sheets, memos, and having very festive chats with executives who suddenly couldn't remember basic things like how to price a toy. And after a long process, including raids, interviews, and some very sweaty boardrooms, the truth started to look very ugly. At least, according to the investigators, the toy giant and two of the UK's biggest retailers were, in fact, coordinating prices to keep them artificially high at Christmas time. The fallout? Well, let's just say a few companies ended up paying some of the biggest fines in the UK that the UK had ever handed out in retail case at the time, and parents finally had the answer to the great mystery of the early 2000s. Why the hell every toy cost exactly the same to the penny, no matter where you bought it? But as always, this is Conspiracy Corner. Maybe this is documented fact, maybe it's corporate legend, and some of it might be me stirring the Christmas pudding. So is it true, or have I just created a festive fairy tale? Price fixing. Captain Pompey,
Pogs.
what do you think?
That is 100% true. I mean, I don't know how much more to what I can really say about that. I mean, absolutely. I'm sure it happened probably prior to that. Companies, colluding on keeping prices high. Maybe where they slipped up was, like you said, absolutely to the penny, keeping those prices exactly the same. But I'm sure it happened before, it happened then, and I'm sure it's still happening now, but they've just got cleverer about it.
All right, it's very clear from Pompey. Dedders, what do you think?
I think that all sounds perfectly plausible, standard, cross-industry, cartelization, weaselry. I'm going to say it's false because while it's obviously a plausible mechanic, alarm bells are ringing for me for early 2000s, and it was Monopoly, Action Man, My Little Pony, Mr. Potato Head, maybe one
Correct.
other.
Yeah, surprising, isn't it?
They feel to early 2000s. We are what? We're in our 20s at that point.
We are at university at that time.
Right. So it's a perfect age for us to not really, for it to miss us, right? We're out getting smashed. We're not at the age where we've got kids to notice this, so it could miss us. So I'm perfectly prepared to be wrong on this one, obviously. But I just feel like those specific toys feel suspiciously
90s.
like wrong time period to be the hot gadget, the hot item like Monopoly or whatever. But that's the only thing that set my alarm bells ringing. But otherwise, I can totally believe it.
All right, so we have one positive, one negative. Sam, remember I'm
Sammy.
talking about retailers colluding with a toy manufacturer as well. With that in mind, what do you think?
So, implicitly, do companies collude behind the scenes? Yes, there's been many instances of it. Second, do I believe that toy companies would do this at Christmas? Yes. Do I believe retailers would do this at Christmas? Also, yes. So the core premise I fundamentally agree with, right? I can believe that this has happened. However, the first thing you said was you were talking about early 2000s, you were talking about email, right? I'm not saying email wasn't around, but how well was it used even at that early time? Gmail came out, 1998? I remember trying to get an invite for it and it was a struggle. So I wonder how much communication was going on via email. So that was a little flag that made me a bit nervous, I think. Second thing was I had something in this race. Toy Story came out, I remember this, 1995. Do you know the reason I remember that? Because I, with my brother, was sent into London to find a Buzz Lightyear for my younger brother. So Buzz Lightyear was a big toy in 1995. And I know that because I was sent into London with my dad and my mum, and we all went shopping to try and locate a Buzz Lightyear. It became an entire fixture of my life, was to locate a Buzz Lightyear for Henry, because that was all he wanted for Christmas. So the idea of paying an inflated price for a Buzz Lightyear, I get, but Mr. Potato Head into the 2000s, I'm not less sure. I don't know when Toy Story 2 was released, but I don't remember Potato Head being a particularly key character. The third reason I'm skeptical is, if you remember, in my first job at Kroll, I worked on the administration of the Music Video Club, MVC. The idea that group of individuals could collude in any way, shape, or form to do anything, right, other than go bust, feels absolutely outlandish to me.
Is there too much credit being given?
Very much too much credit being given to their ability to fix the Christmas toy market. So For those three reasons, I'm out. Pompey.
Well,
Pomps?
Pompey.
Pomps, you look like you've got...
Well, yeah, it would seem after having. I mean, I'll stick with it, but it would seem I've been sucked into there maybe a bit of a misunderstanding of the collusion and listening to your question as to the toys and the year. So yeah, misunderstanding for me. So yeah, I agree. I think there's absolutely a collusion of companies, but I'll stick with my it's true. But yeah, I'm now
True but
adapting
skeptical.
the facts of what you've said. Yeah, true but skeptical. Absolutely.
All right. So it is true.
Hey.
The conspiracy theory is true. So probably you do win. I think the way I set you guys off the scent was to say that those toys were the it toys of the time. Those were the toys that were in the report as colluding prices, as told by The Guardian in an article in 2003. If you remember how we used to shop at Christmas, it was the Argos catalogue, wasn't it? The Argos catalogue and Littlewoods. Now, those were the two biggest retailers involved in this scandal. And the toy company involved was Hasbro. Now, Argos was fined £17.28 million by the UK Office of Fair Trading, and Littlewoods was fined £5.37 million for the same infringement. Hasbro got off with no fine because they cooperated with the investigation.
Wow.
Yeah.
Those sneaky
What was your point about the
eh?
it presents?
buggers. There we go. Yeah.
So the toys that I mentioned were Monopoly and Mr. Potato Head and those things, right? Now those were amongst the reported price fixed toys. So it wasn't every single product across the board, but it was a suite of products, and it was those ones.
Hmm.
So successfully put you
Interesting.
off the scent by saying that those were the toys of the year. So perhaps
Didn't put me off
not
the scent.
every word of what I said was exactly true, but the conspiracy theory did turn out to be a true.
Okay.
It's excellent. I enjoyed that. There was some good nuance in
Well
there.
played.
Well
Yeah.
played, John.
Yeah.
Well played, John. And on that note, good work answering that. But we now move into the prediction corner. Now, for Pompey and Dedders, who weren't here last week, the first thing we have to do in every prediction corner is talk about last podcast prediction. And
Oh yeah.
unfortunately for me, but fortunately for Lando Norris, he did win the title. And I was the only person who suggested that Max Verstappen would win. Everyone else went Lando Norris. We had a big debate afterwards that we were all being a bit unfair on Piastri. Turns out we were all right. So he can languish in third place. We had no interest
Look how
in him.
close it is. I didn't even
This
think
is
it would
cool.
be close, honestly.
I haven't followed this season at all. That's cool for Lando. Well played, mate.
Yeah. So I suppose I won't even take the moral victory that Verstappen won the last race, because that wasn't the question. The question was who was going to win the title, and Lando did. So congratulations to Mr. Norris. That's another loss for me. That's 2 in a row now. So it's not doing particularly well at my own section I created. So let's continue the theme. We have 2 predictions this week. And so the way we're doing this is we're doing a short-term and a long-term prediction. Okay. And so the short-term prediction is something we can immediately prove or disprove on the next podcast. A longer-term one where we've decided to push a few out, so things we can sort of percolate over time and see. So the first prediction, the short-term prediction I want you to make is, how many streams will All I Want for Christmas Is You get over the Christmas period? I'd like a number, a specific number that we can track back against. And we'll go to Captain.
I have a quick question. I have a quick question. You ask over the Christmas period.
1st of December until Christmas Day.
Okay.
Oh,
thank
Christmas Day. Well, that's surely not. Surely we've got to include continued streams into the end of the New Year when the Christmas period drops off.
Fine.
You. Should we just say December?
December then. Let's just go with December then, for clarity. So,
Yeah, it's a good question. And I have resisted the urge to utilize the internet or online sources for this. So I don't. I've just pulled an arbitrary number out of the air. I did have a quick look on Spotify, not specifically this song, but just general most played songs, how many times they've been played in the billions, etc. So based on that, just as a totally rough guess, I would say 200 million.
200 million. You're on the
Based
board.
on nothing.
Based
Okay.
on nothing. Okay, Simon.
For the Christmas period, so running up to Christmas and after until it's obviously not Christmas anymore, I reckon 28 million Spotify streams, since that's a measurable metric.
Okay. Do you not want to talk about the other streaming platforms? There is one called Apple Music. I don't know if you've heard of it. Because nobody else has.
Yeah.
So, according to our good friend Dan, lots of people have heard of Apple Music, but as far as I'm aware, I've yet to meet one of them. So,
Okay. That's a good point. What proportion of the
Tumbleweeds.
total streaming market do we reckon Spotify represents? 60%?
Yeah, it's got to be.
Okay, I'm going to bump it up to, let's say, 40 million total streams across all platforms. 28 Spotify, 40 total.
okay, 40 total. All right, I'll make a note. Jonathan?
150 million streams. I don't really know is the answer. I mean, these things go into the billions, don't they? In over the life of a song. I mean, I think it's probably by far the most common Christmas song, isn't it? I mean, it's utter shit, but it's well, I guess it's kind of catchy. Yeah, it's a complete guess. Maybe it's 40 million a week across all platforms, if that's what we're going for. 150, 160. I'm putting my flag in the ground at 150 million.
150 million. So, I popped this question up without any knowledge whatsoever about streaming and how often people stream anything. But I did go and do some research. So, for the 2025 holiday season, this song is predicted to generate somewhere between 400 and 500 million streams on Spotify alone.
What is the holiday season here?
December.
Right. Okay.
Interesting, because I ran a regression analysis on previous years of this song's streams on Spotify.
Yeah.
And last year it reckoned it was something like 23, but the trend was up. So I brought it down because I reckon it's sloping lower. So that's where I ended up with 28.
Well, this is where the
I'm
brilliance.
interested to see yours got like 150 or whatever for the same thing.
Well, just this is the brilliance of AI. It's probably just made it up, hasn't it? It's probably hallucinated a number. So
Maybe.
Is that not a day as well? Because on one when I was having a look at most played, it referenced songs being played about 25 million times a day.
brilliant. The brilliant thing is the good people at Spotify are going to answer the question for us. So don't you worry, we'll get the answer.
Interesting.
So I sat there and thought 400 million to 500 million, if that's the range we're in. So my gut feel it's going to be fewer than that. And the reason for that was, I just think there's some cracking new Christmas songs and sort of more coming out every year. I've been surprised this year, in particular, as I've delved into a world of Christmas music, that there's a few things actually out there that I maybe hadn't really listened to that I quite like. And I wonder if it feels like there's been more permission to have a bit of a go over the last 5 years. Did you know Coldplay have a Christmas song? I didn't know that. That was news to me.
It's actually quite good. The Coldplay Christmas song.
It's all right, isn't it?
Coldplay.
Yeah. Christmas Lights, Kelly Clarkson, Underneath the Tree, Ariana Grande, Santa Tell Me, Ellie Moore, Snow Angel. I didn't know about a lot of these songs. Turns out, I don't think Mariah's got it all her own way. So maybe I think that if it's 400 to 500 million, I think she's peaked. I can only see that number going down as more people bundle into the Christmas market. Maybe Bublé will have another go. Who knows? So,
well, I've just had a look on Spotify, and All I Want for Christmas has had 2.4 billion streams in the entire life of the song.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an enormous amount, but that's on Spotify, and that's is it only played at Christmas? I don't know. Maybe I need to revise my estimate.
Well,
I need
this
to
is
remind.
it's one-
I
'cause
thought I was
it
daily.
was one of
sorry.
the biggest songs that I was looking at, and if you're looking at 2 billion and then 200 million, like 10% of that in 1 year. But how long has Spotify been counting those numbers? Have they ever reset those numbers? Don't know.
Okay, let's wipe the slate clean. We need some definitions here. We're saying for the entirety of December. And Sam, are you only talking about Spotify numbers?
I wasn't talking about Spotify numbers. I was talking more broadly because I can get the data for this. So
You can. Okay.
I can get the data.
Okay. So I said 28 for Spotify, but that was daily. Let's say 40 total daily for the whole of Christmas. So 40 by 30 is 1.2 billion. Is that right?
That would represent half the plays that it's ever had on Spotify.
Ever.
I think you're way over. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe unless that's
tough.
peak plays. Jesus.
Tough. This is tough. I'm gonna put mine up to 250 million across all platforms in the entirety of December.
Well, hang on, you can't go about you put your flag in the ground.
No, I'm saying, can we not wipe the slate clean now?
So you've taken your flag back out of the ground.
My flag is out of the ground because I think I underplayed it. God, maybe I didn't. Maybe I'll stick to my original. I don't know. Who the hell knows? All right, let's do a quick round robin. I'm going 250 million. Pompey.
I'm going to stick with my 200.
Dedders.
I'm going to say like something like 430 million for Spotify. We reckon Spotify is like 50% of the market. Do we think? I'm going to say 700 million.
700.
I think Spotify's a big
a
part
third of the plays ever.
All right,
I'm
Sam,
going to
what have
say
you got?
600 million.
600 million. Okay. Sam, what have you got? Final answer.
I'm going to stick with 360 million.
360 million. All right. There we go.
There we go.
All right.
If it's lowballed, Pompey wins. If it's highballed, Simon does. John and I, you are in the middle. To be commented on. Now we're going to have a long-term prediction, which is what we were going to do last week, but we decided against it because actually it makes more sense now. Because this is a traditional Christmas prediction, which is, and I know only two of us really follow football here, but I think that makes it more fun. All right. Which is who will win the Premier League season. Now, for John and Pompey, approaching Christmas, it's usually pretty easy. Not easy, but statistically, it's pretty likely who's going to win at this point. Okay, you can have a bit of a guess. You've seen how things are netting out. And so just to give you an idea at this point, just very quickly pop the table up if you've not already looked at it. So this
don't show me the table, because that's one of the things, again, I didn't... I tried not to do any. Well, I didn't do any research. I didn't want to have a look at it because it was a long-term prediction. I was just going to go for a stab in the dark.
Don't worry. You can always predictions. You can have a look. You can have a think. Right. You got to bring. You can get out there and you can bring it. But this is where we're sat as we go into the Christmas period. Arsenal at the top, good form. City below, and then a few outliers. So we'll move to Simon Devon first.
Arsenal have been running away with it, but I think there's a tendency for pundits to have a revisionist bias every 5 minutes. Arsenal are going to run away with the league because they're 6 points clear. Then we drop 3 points, and all of a sudden, we're not going to do it. Liverpool were never going to give it up earlier in the league in the season. Then they lost a couple of games, and all of a sudden, they're out of the race. I still think Arsenal are going to do it. Hence, my Californian Arsenal t-shirt. Although I live in California, on game day my heart belongs to Arsenal. I still think we're going to do it. We've got strikers coming back, but we have got a bit of an injury crisis in defence. My concern is that City have actually played pretty mediocre most of the season, and they've got one of the world's best midfielders coming back from injury at some point. And even though they played pretty mediocre, they haven't dropped any points. I'm secretly worried it's going to be City, even though they haven't been brilliant. Villa are on an absolute tear. They've got the best form in the league, but I think Unai Emery just won't take them to the highest heights. I'm just not sure I can see it. Palace, I don't think they'll get there, and everyone else is too far behind, whatever. So I'm going to say Arsenal, but I say it most years around sort of February, March, when it looks like, Jesus, this could be the year. I start looking at flights. Will I come back for May for the victory parade? I don't buy the flights and we don't win the league. It all works out fine if you revel in disoppression, which we do as football fans. So I'm going to say Arsenal.
Excellent. Jonathan?
Don't ask me about this stuff, mate. I've never watched football in my life. I just haven't got a clue. I haven't got a Scooby-Doo about this stuff. I've looked at Ladbrokes. Arsenal are the favourites. Actually, the closest relative I've got who ever followed football was my mum's mum, who was an Arsenal fan. So up the Gunners, as she would say.
Up the Gunners.
I think it's got to be. I think it's got to be Arsenal, but only because Ladbrokes says it should be. I have no idea.
Very fair.
Pompey, what do you think?
I'm in the same camp as you, John, and I know it's probably going to upset Sam a little bit because I know he's a die-hard Tottenham fan. But the team I was going to say, purely because, again, I have never been a football supporter, and the only team I have ever, in quotes, supported, so to speak, was also Arsenal, because of a girlfriend 30 odd years ago now, probably 25 odd years ago. Her family were die-hard Arsenal fans, so it seemed a logical step to start supporting that team. I've never really been interested in football apart from international stuff, so I've sort of loosely stuck with them. As I said, I didn't have a look at the table before and just would go with them as a long-term prediction. So there we go. 3 Arsenals.
3 Arsenals. So
3 Arsenal fans. It's quite nice. Who knew?
Sam,
Carry on.
I mean, for a second there, I was a bit concerned, Pompey, you're going to go, well, who do I like? I like London. I like Tottenham, but not Spurs. I thought you were going to head down that route. Well, I've been in this position last week where everyone picked Lando and I picked Verstappen, and it didn't end that well for me. So, but from a prediction corner point of view, that feels poor. I can't pick Arsenal, mainly because I think they're incredible bottle jobs, and like every time they're going to bottle it right at the end, right at the death. So really the question is, who are they going to bottle it to this time? And of course, I would love it to be Tottenham Hotspur, but we're in 11th and we're terrible.
500 to 1 is the Tottenham Hotspur odds.
We'll take.
it's worth £1.
We'll take those odds any time, John, and we'll make them. So really, my question was, if you look at that following pack, who is it going to be this time? It's not going to be Villa or Crystal Palace. They'll fade away. They're rubbish. So, I should really pick City because it's going to be them on the last day of the season, and they're going to break loads of people's hearts. But I'm not going to pick City. I'm going to pick Chelsea because there'd be nothing better than them losing to Chelsea. So just on that basis alone, even though it's unlikely that they're going to do it, I'm going to pick Chelsea.
Can you put the table up again? Where are they now?
Sam has
They're
taken a
far.
33 to 1 flyer against our 4 to 6 favourites.
Okay.
They're not that far back. They're far back enough, though, aren't they? Like 8 points back at Christmas is a long way, right?
It's a long way if they weren't chasing Arsenal.
Well, even if they're chasing City, they're whatever that is, 6 points back from City, and City are going to get better. And yeah, I just don't see it with Chelsea. We'll see. But I like the gusto there. City would have been an easy choice for you. I'm glad you've gone outside of the easy choice. Your commitment to not winning this round is admirable.
Well, my commitment to never winning the section I created appears to be significant.
Yeah.
So far,
That's what I mean.
I've lost everything really quite badly. So I've got everything wrong. So which I was hoping in the long term, maybe it'll net out and I'd do all right. But so far, it's been a poor start. It was a poor second round, and hopefully it'll be a poor third. So, but that's the end of predictions for this year. We'll move on to different ones in January. So we'll hold that football one, obviously, until later in the season, and we'll move on to a new one. But John, it's up to you to introduce our final section for the Christmas podcast.
All right, there we go. We're back on the music round, aren't we? Which I personally really love. The question is, if you could preserve only one Christmas song for future generations, which one survives? I'll go last on this one because I have some fairly strong views on it. Let's start with Simon Dedman.
Yeah, I don't feel like I've given. I would have liked to have thought about this more because I suspect there's some real juice here. So I'm looking forward to your inputs, Pompey. Pompey Hunty. I've gone for The Darkness, Christmas Time. Don't Let the Bells Ring. Do I think it's the best Christmas song? No, but it felt like for a lot of years there weren't really new good Christmas songs, and there were a few protest songs like Rage Against the Machine, which I was all in favor of, just to break up the Christmas hegemony market, whatever. And then The Darkness came along, and their whole existence was a bit of somewhere between brilliant and banter, which I continue to enjoy. And the Christmas song, it felt like a year or two after they'd had their big breakout album, and everyone just assumed, all right, that was it then, and off they go. They popped up with a Christmas song, which was cracking. It was a genuinely fun belter. And I feel like as a worthy part of the Christmas canon now, given that all the other ones are so deeply entrenched, often like sickly, syrupy, sweet and twee and boring. I think the Christmas Darkness one is a bit fun and chutzpah to it, and it's a bit different. So, yeah. Pompey?
It's a tricky one. Yeah, immediately when I thought about it, do you know, the one I've heard a lot recently is the Feliz Navidad. And I don't know when this came out, and this isn't my choice, by the way, exactly, but I don't know when it came out, but it's really catchy. And
That's
I
good.
first remember hearing it, I don't know, maybe 5-6 years ago or so. So I think it's definitely up there, but it's certainly not. And then I thought, of other songs, like even sort of caroly or like school time, you've got things like Jingle Bells, proper classics. We Wish You a Merry Christmas. It's a proper sort of wholesome Christmas tunes. And then the modern ones. I think was it you, Sam or Hunty, mentioned earlier about the Coldplay one, which I am not a fan of Coldplay, but that's actually, I'll give it. It's all right.
High
But the song for
praise.
me, yeah, the song for me, much like, which is the start of Christmas. If Christmas doesn't start until you see the Coca-Cola advert, or it doesn't start until you see Love Actually on TV. Christmas songs don't start for me until you hear Fairy Tale of New York.
So perfect, isn't it? Sam, what do you think?
So I kept it. I'm not a religious man. I do like going
Except
to
for your
church,
jumper.
except for my jumper. Jesus is the reason for the season. But I do like going to church. Unusually, I would argue. I have dabbled in and out of going to church, despite not being religious for various reasons. And perhaps school entrance related.
Yes.
It's all right. We're through that barrier now, I think. But I think the interesting about going to church is I like a lot of the things that church often stands for. I don't like all aspects of religion, but I think there's something quite interesting about communal singing. And you don't get many opportunities to do that in everyday life. And, thinking about the times that I have had the opportunity to do that, I would say they broadly boil down to sports teams, and university and church. That's not a particularly clear crossover of things, but with a church bit, you actually get to have a proper go. Oh, the other thing I remembered was karaoke as well. And so that's really often the only chance you get to do this. And so my kids are both in the choir at school because
Nice.
they don't mind singing and they're not particularly good at musical instruments, despite the piano behind us, unused as always. And I thought to myself, what, which is your favourite carol? And I just went to see Jake this week. Jake's school did a carol concert. And I realised there's always one that I love, and there's always one I look forward to every year for sort of exactly the same reason, the both sides of the coin. I love Once in Royal David City, because cracking solo opening, and you know every time you go, both sides of that coin, they could nail it or they could fuck it, right? There's a real danger element every single time that starts up that I think, go on, just nail it. And invariably they always do, which is just brilliant, I think, in front of so many people. And it's always someone absolutely tiny. But also technically it's quite a tricky song. You know, there's some good, and if you're singing it, there's some good high notes to aim for. And I love singing it. And actually, even, you know, I went with Lindsay this time, and every year she's like, stop singing so loudly. I'm like, no, I love being the loudest person in church singing. Absolutely. And even my old housemate from university, Tor, was on the other side of the church. And she said, I could hear you belting it out. So I don't care. I love singing in church. I think it's great. I love a good sing song. So if I was going to pick one song for me that I always think, oh, okay. And like, you hear the other songs at the start of December, but this was, a few days in now, that those carol services where you go and you hear that's the point. I'm like, oh yeah, I feel Christmassy now, singing a load of Christmas hymns. So, and Christmas carols. So yeah, Once in Royal David City.
Good choice.
I love it. Well done, mate. Well done for singing loud in a church, because I think it takes a certain kind of person to do that. I was at my kids' carol concert in the local church here. My kids go to a religious school, even though we're not a religious family, but they have the best education, So I was at this carol concert, and the people next to me didn't sing at all. And I sort of gave a little murmur, it was the best I could do without it being Jerusalem. Then I would have really belted it out. But the stuff that they were putting in that carol concert was pretty low end stuff. But I still gave it a go. And the people next to me didn't. And I thought that was absolutely rubbish. Like, what are you even doing there if you're not going to give it some volume,
Yeah.
But still, no, that's nice. That's nice. It's a nice element to it. I wouldn't have thought about hymns, because generally I just not really. I wouldn't listen to it outside of that particular point at that particular venue. But anyway, on to my thoughts about the Christmas song. The Pogues I mentioned earlier on. It is objectively the best Christmas song, even though it's not. It's not a nice song. I mean, I've been looking up the lyrics while I've been here, and there's some lyrics which I'm not gonna say, but they've got cars big as bars, they've got rivers of gold, but the wind goes right through you. It's no place for the old. When you first took my hand on a cold Christmas Eve, you promised me Broadway was waiting for me. It's just wonderful, isn't it? Just such a good way with words. I love it, but it's not my choice. Huh?
What's the next line?
You were handsome, you were pretty, queen of New York City.
Oh.
And there's one later on that goes, you scumbag, you maggot, you cheap lousy. But we're going to move on to another fun little Christmas paradox that happened a while ago. Do you remember when Baby It's Cold Outside was cancelled because it was too pushy?
I love
Baby
this
It's Cold.
story.
It's absolutely fantastic, isn't it? Baby It's Cold Outside, re-released, by the way, by Idina Menzel in 2014, who was the one who sang the Frozen soundtrack. A fantastic voice, but turns out made a mistake because of naughty lyrics. Here's some lyrics from Baby It's Cold Outside, which people were worried about. I ought to say, no, 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 sir. Mind if I move in closer? At least I'm going to say that I tried. What's the sense in hurting my pride? So there's a slightly pushy guy who's using his technique to perhaps have a little kiss with a lady. But the world went crazy about this, and it's cancelled. It's not allowed to be played on the BBC anymore. But at the same time, Wet Ass Pussy was number one in the States, with lyrics that went, beat it up, baby, catch a charge. Extra large and extra hard. Put this cookie right in your face. Swipe your nose like a credit card. Hop on top, I want to ride. I do a kegel, I'm kind of wide. Look at my mouth, look at my thighs. The water is wet, come take a dive. It's empowering, to say the least, isn't it? And it just speaks to the incredible double standards of the internet. What a wild place, what a wild time to be alive when these things are even in contention. But it doesn't really matter, because the question was, what is the song you want to make sure that your kids remember forever? And there's only one song that really gives me the Christmas feels, and that's when I finally finished work. I used to live an hour away from where I worked, and that drive home for Christmas was the best. And every time, probably for about 10 years, whilst my kids have been alive, driving home for Christmas, Chris Rea has given me the Christmas feels more than anything else. So that is my submission for the playlist.
Excellent. Excellent. For a second, I was
Very good choice.
genuinely concerned where you were going there, Jonathan. I'm still quite concerned about where that ends up in the edit. So,
Pompey?
Yeah, there's just on the topic of cancel culture. Exactly the same was tried with the Pogues, with Fairy Tale of New York. There was uproar about the lines you referenced there, and there was even a new radio edit made where it was blanked out, or I think they changed it to something else. I think there was also talk about recording a new modern version of it. But that's possibly a podcast topic for another time.
Yes, we should cover cancel culture in all its toxicity.
Yeah, good point. The story that where I thought you were going to go with this one, Hunty, about that story is, and I'll dig this post up and share it around. There was a really good discussion about this in a Reddit thread about whatever it's called, Baby It's Cold Outside, and saying, and this person's conceit was that at the time it was written, dating dynamics and clarity or clarity of communication were very different. This was back in a time when it was more of a suitor style thing, and it was put upon the woman to be seen, not to be seen as an easy woman, and so to be demurring regularly. No, I'm not interested. No, thanks. Because contrasted against the modern world, where a modern empowered woman might say, yes, I'm looking forward to coming over your place and rubbing my wet ass pussy in your face, for example. Now, that would be now great.
You might be, Dedders, you might be referring to the lyric, gobble me, swallow me, drip down the side of me.
Is that in Baby It's Cold Outside or Wet Ass Pussy?
That's in Wet Ass Pussy.
There was a hint in there, I suppose. Then the argument is that at the time, this is just the sort of the rigmarole that would be expected to be gone through as part of going to a guy's place and having dinner and drinks and then staying over and all the rest, is that you have to be like, oh no, I better be going, I better be leaving. Otherwise, you just give off the vibe that you're an easy woman. The sort of I wait till the third date kind of principle in song versus
you might say
so
both songs, both sets of lyrics are a sign of the times, aren't they?
Yeah, well, oddly enough, Wet Ass Pussy was
be
originally written in 1956.
Neither of these songs should be judged in the opposite timeline.
Fair.
And on that note, God knows how we ended up here when we were looking for a Christmas song to preserve for future generations in a heartwarming tale. We've ended up with some unusual lyrics from a Christmas time perspective and a potential take on cancel culture next time around. But I think we'll probably call it a night, particularly because it sounds like somebody's inside a washing machine as well on the feedback here, and we can't work out who it is. But more importantly, we're signing off. These are our first 3 episodes. This one concludes our 2025, and the plan is we'll come back in the new year with a whole new set of topics to come and talk about. So a whole new set of predictions for me to get wrong, whole new set of music to add to with some wonderful lyrics. And we'll look forward to a 2026 conspiracy from John as well. So on that note, we're going to say goodnight. And to everyone who's on the call, don't turn off your computer like we did last week and ruin it for everyone. So all we have to
Wishing
do,
everybody
Merry
a
Christmas.
very
Merry
Christmas.
Christmas. And
Happy
Happy
Hanukkah.
New Year. A
Happy holidays.
happy holiday season. My favourite
Yeah.
American phrase. Happy holiday season. So,
It's all encompassing. It's lovely.
all right.
See you next year, chaps.
See you next year, chaps.
Cheers, homies.